Have you ever wondered why the most powerful people in the room are often the quietest? Have you ever felt the immense weight of needing to explain yourself, to justify every decision, every no, as if your own choices required a public defense? I once lived in that world, a world of constant noise, both external and internal. I believed that to be heard, I had to be the loudest. To be understood, I had to explain everything. My life was a frantic race to fill every silence, terrified of what might rush in to fill the void. I was exhausted, my energy scattered, my sense of self-worth tied to the validation of others. It was a journey through a storm of expectations, a battle against the invisible pressure to always speak, to always justify. But what if I told you that the path to true strength, to unshakable confidence, wasn't found in a louder voice, but in the profound, deliberate power of silence? This is the story of how I discovered that power, and how you can too. In our bustling, hyper-connected world, we've been conditioned to believe that presence equals noise. We see powerful, influential figures and notice that they don't need to shout to command a room. Their words are few, but they land with incredible weight. Why is that? It's because they have mastered a secret language, a language that speaks louder than any words, the language of power that is silence. It's not about being shy or having nothing to say. It's a strategic choice, a conscious decision to step back from the chaos. In a world saturated with opinions and constant chatter, choosing silence is not a sign of surrender. Quote, "It is a calculated strategy for reclaiming control. It's a way to remain anchored and calm, to fully govern your emotions when everyone else is swept away by the current. When the environment is deafening, speaking less doesn't make you invisible. It makes you stand out. Your quiet confidence becomes a magnetic force, drawing people in, making them lean closer to hear what you finally choose to say. This is what I learned to call active silence. It's a world away from the silence of fear. Active silence is a tool, a deliberate act of choosing not to speak in order to create a subtle psychological pressure. Imagine a high-stakes negotiation. Instead of rushing to fill a pause, you hold the silence. The other person, unaccustomed to the space, feels a growing unease. They become insecure. Their carefully constructed composure begins to crack, and they start talking, revealing more than they intended. In that moment, you have gained the upper hand without uttering a single word. You have shifted the balance of power, not through aggression, but through stillness. It was a revelation for me to distinguish this from the passive silence that had once defined me. Passive silence is born from weakness, from a fear of conflict or a desire to avoid confrontation. It's the silence of someone who is afraid to speak their mind, who shrinks in the face of pressure. This kind of silence doesn't bring power. It invites control. It signals to the world that you are easily swayed, that your boundaries are weak. The journey from passive to active silence was my first step out of the shadows and into my own strength. The next, and perhaps most liberating step on this journey, was learning to give up the overwhelming need to explain myself. Our society has ingrained in us the belief that every action, especially a refusal, requires a detailed justification. We feel an invisible obligation to construct elaborate reasons for saying no, as if our personal boundaries are only valid if approved by a committee. I remember agonizing over how to decline invitations or requests, drafting long-winded emails and rehearsing speeches, all to soften a simple no. This constant justification was an invisible burden, a constant drain on my mental and emotional energy. It was a performance for an audience that hadn't even necessarily demanded a ticket. The moment I started replacing those long explanations with a simple, calm silence, everything changed. A polite no, thank you, or I'm not able to do that, followed by a quiet confidence, was more powerful than any excuse I could ever invent. This silence wasn't emptiness. It was full. It was full of self-respect. It preserved my energy and reinforced my own sense of self-worth, teaching me that my decisions were mine alone and required no external validation. This newfound silence became the bedrock for asserting my personal boundaries. I realized that over-explaining was a symptom of porous boundaries, an unconscious attempt to manage other people's feelings at the expense of my own. True strength lies in the clarity of your decisions. You don't need to talk endlessly about your limits, you simply need to enforce them. When you say no, be decisive. Don't leave room for negotiation or guilt. This is not about being rude or uncaring. It's about honoring your own capacity. You have a finite amount of time, emotional bandwidth, and energy each day. By being clear and firm, by not justifying your need to protect these resources, you teach others how to treat you. You establish that your well-being is a priority. I started by setting small but firm limits. I would not check work emails after a certain hour. I would decline social events when I felt drained. I stopped engaging in gossip that depleted my spirit. Each time I held a boundary without a long-winded defense, I felt my inner foundation grow stronger. My silence, paired with clear decisions, became the guardian of my peace. Ultimately, this entire journey mastering silence, letting go of explanations and setting firm boundaries was leading me to the ultimate prize, inner freedom. For so long, my life had been dictated by external forces, the fear of judgment, the pressure to please, the relentless pursuit of approval from others. I was a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the winds and waves of other people's expectations. Inner freedom is the moment you finally take the helm. It's the realization that you are not bound by these invisible chains. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that you, and you alone, are in control of your actions and reactions. When you stop obsessing over results you can't control, or seeking validation you don't need, you become truly powerful. People who possess this inner freedom don't need to offer many explanations for their choices. They move with a purpose that comes from within, and this authenticity is magnetic. When they do choose to speak, their words carry the weight of their conviction, and people instinctively listen. They listen not because they are loud, but because their words are true. So, here's the heart of it all. This is the path I walked, from a place of noise and anxiety to a place of quiet strength and peace. True power is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself. It is found in the quiet dignity of silence, in the liberation of giving up the need to explain, in the unwavering strength of clear personal boundaries, and in the profound peace of cultivating inner freedom. This is the journey to self-respect, to sustainable prosperity, and to a life lived on your own terms. It doesn't require a dramatic overnight transformation. It begins with the smallest of actions, practiced consistently until they become second nature. Today to take that first small step. Dare to say no to something without offering a long, convoluted reason. When you feel the urge to react instantly in a conversation, pause. Take a deep breath and hold the silence for just a few seconds. When someone pushes against your limits, stand firm, calmly, and quietly. These small acts of courage are the seeds of a new life. They are the first steps on the path to reclaiming your power, to taking control of your life, and to discovering the incredible, life-changing strength that has been waiting for you all along in the silence.